talk about customizing some prints here. So right now I'm in Bamboo Studios, and there's a bunch of different ways that you can do this where you can customize prints. I am actually on a trackpad, so I don't want to hear any complaints from any of you that you can't figure it out. Okay. So the first thing we're gonna do is bring my part in. I can, of course, do it through the add part menu, add whatever I want in. I already am in a current project. If you're in 420, then you'll see that these are actually your robotic parts. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm going to select my part, and then it'll take us into this like little different menu. So once I've selected it here, I can rotate it to see which face I want facing me. We can see that we already have customized this part a little bit. So that's the first option right there. You can see that it just has the student's name in it. When I hit slice plate, it'll give us a render, and this is what we're going to come up with. So you see this is an embossed system here where it's actually inlaid into the part. There's a number of ways we can do this. So let's start going over them. So let's copy the same part from an earlier one. It is right here. Let me find it right there. So I'll take this. One of the really good things about Bamboo Labs is that you actually do have the access to Control C, Control V system. So you can actually like copy parts. You can undo movements. Like if I moved it there, then I hit Control Z, it'll move it back. I hit Control Y, it'll move it back over, right? So it's pretty forgiving. We're gonna rotate around. I could do it here, or I could do it coordinately, right? By just typing them in, whatever I want, stuff like that. Okay, so let's look at this part. So the first thing I can do is text. So I can come up here and hit text, and now I can move this to where I want it to be. I've got control over what it says, right? If you leave the menu, that's not a big deal. You can just come back in and select it again, just like that. I'm going to come in here, and now I'm going to say like Amar 420, just like that. And when I select off, it'll put it there. You might have been like, hey, Dylan, you just hit that, and now it's not the same text. You did a different text. What happened? And this is a really common mistake. So if you hit text again, it's going to make a new one. What you're going to want to do is actually come over here into global objects, hit objects, and now within this little subassembly, you can pick the individual ones. So you can see that it's the Prusa leader, which is the name of the part, and then text shape 1 and text shape 2. So I can now come in here, I can remove these, right, if I want to. And like I said, you can Control C, Control V to bring things back in. If it's not the actual one you want, you could rename them so that you don't get them confused, right? All that great stuff. But what I'm going to do is now that I have this selected, right, I can hit edit text with a right click, and now I can go back in and change it, right? So edit text, I come up here, and now I can say Amar 420, just like this. And if I don't do anything different, then I'll have it be an external part. So when this slices, this plate, it'll be on the outside. Okay, you can see that it's actually an external thickness added to your part. If I want, and I can go back to prepare to get me back to this menu. I can go back to text shape. I can hit edit text shape again. And now I can come in here, and instead of doing it that way, I can say I want this, instead of it to be a part, I want it to be a cut. And when it's a cut, it then makes it a negative part within your system. So it's going to now say it's going to prevent anything from being printed there. Now you can see that it's like hitting this geometry, so I can just drag it around, move it where I want it. This is doing it as a layover. So I can actually do that here. So it's surround surface. I could do not surround. I could do horizontal. I could do projection, right? These are all different things. So if you see, all that really did is say that little bin there, it doesn't move. Now it's like in line with it. It's flush to the surface versus not surround. Now this thickness will be different because it's just reading this off this ordinal plane. Um, so if it's around surface again, I could also rotate this, right? And I can, of course, move it through space, left, right, up, down, whatever I want. You can see because we're on surround surface, it's going to naturally adjust with the surface that we are on. So this is the most straightforward way to do it. The other options, of course, are like, because this will just be like a thickness added or removed. I can instead make it a thickness and then go back into the part and actually color this too. So now I could say, okay, I'm going to go back to objects. I'm going to go to text shape. And now I could say, hey, I want to edit this text. And now let's make this a cut, just like that. Bang. And it's a single surface. Okay. The other thing that I could do would be to isolate this and bring it as a separate part. So what that would look like, right, is me adding in a completely different text part that's not on this at all. Um, that's totally alone. Okay. So this is totally alone. You see how it's not part of this, it's its own thing. Now I could edit this, right? Go into the text file. And it's not at the top. Let's see, it's right here, edit text. And now I could do it again, just like that. I can now move it around, but to move it now, because it's not on the part, I'm gonna have to use my move function. And that lets me move it here. My rotate's up here, right? If you've already used Bambu, this is all gonna be old information. You already have this, so we'll make that clean, make that 90. Okay. So now what I can do is say, hey, I actually want this to be a different color. So you have to have two colors selected up here, which you can do by just hitting plus and it adds different colors to it, right? So you have to have at least two colors. Now, if I come in here and I right click, I can change that to be black. And now you'll see it update there. Now I can move it around again, and we're gonna do the same thing we did earlier. Remember how we showed that it wasn't surrounded, it was just like a thickness added to it. We can now, of course, do that again just by adding it to the part. But the problem is we're going to need to merge these. So first, let's remove this previous text. That way it doesn't get in the way. We actually have somewhere to put it. Now we'll hit move again, and we'll pull this a little bit forward. And now what we're gonna do, because it's getting mad at us, this is of course it's getting mad at me for a few reasons. One of the main reasons is this is not the right type of material, so we'll switch it to be PLA, so it's the same type of material. They need to be the same if you're gonna do this. Obviously, you can't print with two different types of material if you want it to come out well. So we'll come into text here, and now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna actually right click this. So I'm going to hit Control and I'm gonna select my first one, control, and then select my second one. And now I can right click and hit merge. And now that these are merged, I can actually move, when I move them, it'll move them together instead of being separate parts. However, now if I want to just move this, right, I can't do that. I need to go back into here. And this is essentially what the other system was doing. So just be aware of that. So now we can move it up, move it over. We can angle it however we want to get it to fit. Another thing that you can do is change its thickness using scaling. So let's go, it's like about that angle. We'll move it in, something like that. And now you'd be like, oh, well, it's kind of touching, but not all the way. I can see that from the top surface. So what I could do is now hit scale and turn off uniform scaling. And now I can see in the Y here, that's my part thickness. And so I can actually grab that here. Oh, sorry, in the blue here. And now I can change how thick the part is, right? So I can make it thicker. This new leader, that's gonna be gold, right? So that it actually can embed into the part just like that. So now I can see that it's fully connected to the part. It's not the best, right? Because it will obviously like not be even. But if you wanted to do a different color, you could do it this way. And if you kept messing with it, you could eventually get it. Like if I separated this A as its own text, you could mess around with it and try and get it to work the best as possible. Another easier way to do this, and this is not a good part for it, but if you wanted the absolute best result, what you would do is, I'm going to revert this back because it got scaled weird too. The best thing to do would be to do a lay on face. So I come here and now I say I want to lay this down on a flat face. And so that's the flat face we want to lay down on. And now you can see that it's like, oh, actually this other face is kind of in the way. And so we want to go into Prusa Leader specifically, then say, hey, I want to lay it down. Or what we could do is pull this back and unmerge these at first and then make them separate. If I say I want to move this, and normally you all won't have that many parts in it, so it's like you can see this from a different part. It doesn't matter right now. But all I got to do is put this flat on its face. Yeah, so I'm sure and move this assembly up. So we'll hit move up just like that. Now let's try and lay this back flat on its face now. There we go. Now we can actually lay it down on its face. And now that it's flat there, we can now put this other text, right? And we can move that down. And we might want to come in here and revert its stuff and say, hey, actually, we want to move you over here. Or what we could do is unmerge these parts too if we're like having a lot of trouble with it. And it's being weird. We could just go here and hit split to objects, and now these will be recognized separately again. And now you could say, hey, I want you to revert all your rotations back to 0, which is what we wanted, right? But obviously this would be upside down. So we'll have to mirror it, at least mirror it, if not just rotate it 180 degrees, right? We might need to do a little bit more than that. Let's pull this way and let's rotate it twice. So we'll rotate it this way first. 180, just like that. And that looks good. We'll also grab this one and revert its rotations and then just hit lay flat again. And so that should fix it. It didn't. It's okay. Let's rotate it this way. Just like that. So now that those are zeros, right, we know that they're flat relative to each other. We'll come in, we'll hit move again, and now we can see something like this, move it over, and this will give us an error. It'll get mad at us because it's like, hey, you're actually trying to make two parts at the same time that are now hitting each other. We don't want parts to hit each other, right? So let's go back into some scaling here. We'll make this a little bit thinner so it fits better, right? And so like in this system, you have total control over everything. So that's pretty great. So we'll move it a little bit more this way. We'll pull it a little bit to the side. And now what we can do is we can see that it's got plenty of thickness in there. So now we're just going to control click again here and here, right click and hit merge again. So now these are once again one part, and you can see this little like clipping. That's exactly what you want to see because it's saying it's going to register both those as two different faces, right? And that's what we want. You should also see this purge tower pop up. Be aware that if you try and put too many parts all at once on here and you're trying to do color changing, it's not great. If you're going to do color changing, you ideally want to do it just at the beginning rather than trying to do it the whole way up. But we'll hit slice plate now. This is also going to add a lot of time because it's going to have to wipe when it changes colors for those first ones. And of course, it's going to add more time because this part isn't designed to be printed on its side like this. So it's going to have to add support. But you can see that the end effect is what we wanted here. You see how it has the Amar in it that's a different color than the rest. And that's what it'll actually look just like that. So that's another way that you could do this. If you were trying to get like a really nice finish for the letters, but it might not come out the best, especially if you make it too small. It's kind of like tattoos, where if you make it too small, you really just can't see anything. But if you notice, the purge tower here is really small because we're only doing color changing for the first layer. So this is optimizing your time printing rather than the shape. So now if we went here, right, we might get a better shape, but now we have to do a bigger tower. But because we did all that work beforehand, when we hit merge, now we know that those are nice and flush to each other. And when we hit slice plate, it'll come up just like this. And you see that it's really nice. It's two colors and it looks pretty great. So this is another system you could do if you wanted to do it with it being a specific color being a rather than it just being like an emboss or an X-boss. And you could still kind of do those, but this does look a lot cleaner. So this is just in the Bambu system. There's some other ways you can accomplish this. Like, well, what if I want to do a specific logo or a name or like something that I created on my own? And so what we're gonna do is go to a different Bambu software. We're gonna go online here. We're gonna go to Maker World. Okay. And within Maker World, we're going to go to our Maker Lab. And then here we have some options. So the two that we really want is image to keychain. And then the other one we want is make my sign. So we're going to start with image to keychain. And what this does is let us pull any picture into it. See, like here's the SBE logo, here's LSAMP, here's Nesby, here's the Chico State logo, right? And when we pull it in there, it actually gives us some options. So it does this thing where it will say, um, uh, hey, let's try and make this out of as many colors as possible. Um, if we wanted to do that, we could, but if we want to simplify it, right, and this is simplified, all we got to do is say, hey, like this recognized three different colors. And I said, no, I only want this to be two colors. So when I actually export it, I can just do it like this and say, no, I want this to be the same color. And now you're good to go. When you scroll over these, it actually tells you what they specifically are. So for instance, this is saying that the manufacturing letters are different than the Chico State letters. And this was imported from the business card side. So it could have like four or five up to them. But if you wanted to make this into a silhouette or black and white, you could do that by just changing this color here. And you can of course say, actually, I want this to be transparent. And now you can see that it's a transparent file, right? Um, as well. So there's a ton of options here, a ton of options to do this. And what this is doing is it's just changing it from like an image into a file that we can print into an STL. So now what I can do is I can hit download, and I could do this as an STL or as a 3MF. Both of these will port into Bambu, but I can also do export to make my sign. And when I export in to make my sign, you can see I already have one here. So we'll just go to that, but I just hit new project and hit import. Um, when I come over there, now it's going to actually convert it into that like the thicker that it'll have a thickness to it now that when I print this out, it'll be really nice. So let's go to make my sign instead of this one, let's do it the one that I actually worked on a little bit earlier. So this one is all good. I resized it. I moved the text around. You have total control over what the text says, over the color that it is, right? You can do, you know, different things to like have control over it, stuff like that. You could, of course, do this all in the software of Canva, which is pretty good at doing the visual art stuff and make whatever designs you want. And now when I hit download on this, and you can see that it's 2D. Yeah, I could also make this an SVG if I wanted to. And this is meant to be made into like a sign, and so you can turn it into like keychains and stuff like that. But what we're gonna do is we're gonna now download this as an STL file. And you see it's my sign draft like 6 because I've done this so many times. And now we'll hit go back to prepare, hit add part, and go down downloads, go to my sign draft. And it's whatever you named it. So you can, of course, name something else. And now you can see, like, this is the actual part with the thickness. So you can see it has this thickness to it. And so you might be like, oh, well, this is gross and ugly. I don't like this plate. So all we're going to do is that same system of like scaling, and we're going to do a little bit of like some little shortcuts here. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to scale my part in this thickness. And now I can clearly see like what's the plate and what's the text. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come up here to cut, and I'm going to make a cut plane, and I'm going to draw it down below the surface just like this and hit perform cut. And remember, because we scaled it, it doesn't matter. So like this is still has all the original stuff. We don't care. We'll delete this now because now we have this, right? Which is what we actually wanted. And now we can scale this back down using scale, sorry. We'll hit scale, and now we can make it thin again. We can scale it to be wherever we want. And we can, of course, just like we did with the text. So everything at this point is the same as the text, right? I could bring the text over. I could put it on there. I can merge the bodies, and I can change the type, right? Just like this, going here, changing the color. Now I can add these two together, overlay them, hit merge. Let's grab something that's a little bit bigger. Let's grab like one of these arms. I don't want to grab it like that. We'll grab it like this. Okay. So now I can grab this arm. I can move my sign draft over. And remember, you have to come up to move every time. I know it sucks, sorry. So we'll come here and let's see if we can get it to fit anywhere. Maybe we'll make it a little bit smaller. The only problem here, we'll actually make this little crab arm a little bit bigger. That way we can just show this. Remember, this is all just like proof of concept stuff. It's not you have control over like it's just to get you in the door to start doing this. So if you want to start like customizing your own prints, you can do that really quickly. Okay, so we'll come to like something like this. If we notice it's flipped around, right? So we're gonna have to do the same flip we did earlier. So we'll rotate this by 180 like that. And then we'll move it around a little bit more.
Yeah, there we go. Oh, sorry. Yeah, okay, too.
If I ever lose it, I just come back here, move. And you can see like they're glitching over each other, which is what we wanted. Now when we hit size plate, and this might take a bit because it's like a super big print now. Um, And so you can see now it's got the Chico State logo in it. It's got that Wildcat in it. Did you see that the text, however, isn't there? And you can see that this isn't very visible. And that's because, like I said, it is a like a thickness thing, right? If you don't make it thick enough, like if you don't make this big enough, then you can't really see it because it's based off the diameter of the printer you use. So you could come in here and make this a 0.2 nozzle, right? And now we can hit size plate again, and we'll see if that allows us to see it, but we probably won't be able to see it anyway. Um, we're gonna try though. Yeah, like I said, it really is like you can see there's much more detail now, but it comes down to more than anything like making sure that the text is actually big enough that you can read it. Very similar to like the see and scene, right? For your tool head, it's like that, right? You can't make it thinner than the nozzle because then you won't be able to see it. You need to make it big enough that it can actually print it, or you need to put it on its side. So let's try that and see if we can get it to recognize it when we move it onto its side. We'll go back to a 0.4 nozzle. Um, let's lay this like on this face and try and do it there. Oh, it also would help if we merge these two parts together. So go back to objects, control here, control click and control click. Or is it going to be really mean to me? Control, right click, merge. Now let's put it on its face here. Let's put it on the face here and see if we can get that text to pop up. It still might not, but uh yeah, I didn't think so. Okay, let's make this a little bit thicker. We'll go to my sign draft and we'll go to my thickness here using my scale and say, hey, I actually want this to be, thick enough that I can actually see it pop out a bit. You know what? It's not recognizing that text at all. Um, so that's okay. Like I said, this is just supposed to be an overview for you all to start jumping into it to try and see like what you can and can't make. Okay, but you can see now it's there. It's got much higher detail, much higher fidelity, right? So that's pretty great. You can see some other ones. Let's see if there's a other file. If I have it open, not gonna take more than like 10 seconds to look for it, though. I don't want to waste too much time here. Of a other file I did. Let's go here. Oh, actually, you know what? Let's try and open it from my Bambu menu. That'll actually probably be better. So we'll go here. Let's go files, open projects, recent projects, recent projects. I think it's this one. No, it's not that one. It's right here. We'll open that up and let's look at that. And so we can see here, right, that this is one I made previously. And it's much larger, right? And that's why the text is able to pop up. But when we hit slice plate, it looks like this. This example is in my lab. So if you want to see like how accurate you can get, this is pretty much the way. But like I said, by using the make my sign and the image to keychain, you can pretty much make whatever you want into a 3D file, and then it's just clipping them and moving them over to get it to work. So it's a pretty cool example of what you could do potentially. So um, if you have any questions about this kind of stuff, please feel free to come talk to me about it. And that's going to be the end of this tutorial. All right, let me stop it now.
Okay. Yeah. Lose the job. Okay.